and we'll be able to watch it later and catch up with what we hope to achieve through the mentoring program at Jupiter Toastmasters. And so, what I hope to cover in the course of the next about 45 minutes, it says 55 minutes, but I think it's going to take a bit less than that, is what first of all, we are going to define exactly what a mentor, the role of a mentor is, because unless we understand exactly what is expected of a mentor, it's going to be difficult for us to actually provide the right kind of mentorship to the members of our club. And so we're going to think about exactly what that role entails. And then the next thing we're going to do is identify what you need to do as a mentor in order for you to be successful at that role, for you to actually fulfill what is expected of you. So we have a pretty simple agenda defining exactly what we think a mentor is, and finally identify the things that effective mentors do for their mentees in order to help them in Toastmasters. But before we get any further, I think a question I will pose to those of us who are present here: what do you think the ultimate goal of a mentor is? When you are mentoring someone, or you're receiving mentorship from someone else, what do you think the objective of that kind of relationship is? The objective of that relationship. I think I'll just call us and hear what we have in mind. So Yonat, Sade, Lemlem, please just unmute yourself and let me know what you have in mind. Yes, Sade?
The goal of a mentor is to help the mentee grow and
Right.
progress in whatever endeavor they're involved in.
Right, absolutely. It is provide help the mentees to grow and make progress in there's a specific endeavor that they have, and so their goal of a mentor is to help them make progress in that. Jonas,
Pretty much similar to what Zadai mentioned. It's to create somehow a favorable environment and make maybe the feedback loop uh,
right,
shorter for the mentee so that they can achieve their goals
right,
more
right,
efficiently or effectively.
right. Absolutely, to create a favorable environment and feedback loop for the mentee to keep receiving areas of improvement so that they can develop. Finally, Lemlem. All right. Probably she can't speak. There's someone named Zoom user. You could rename yourself so that I know who it is. And I think, yeah,
Hello.
the next time you have questions. Yes, Lemlem?
Yes, sorry. I was trying to turn on the speaker. So,
Right.
for me, the role of a speaker is basically just like what Jonas and the other said,
Hmm.
is for that person to develop the mentee
Right.
and enable them to become the best of themselves.
Oh, okay. Right. Right. Absolutely. To develop the mentee and help them to become the best of themselves. So, and Lena, I didn't know that was you.
I didn't notice that I hadn't renamed mine. Right. It's like the same like what they said. It's to help
Mhm.
individuals grow through guidance, encouragement, and meaningful learning relationships, like to foster
Right.
that
Right.
learning relationship.
Yeah, guidance, still again, that same theme of development. And I think definitely mentorship is all of those things that we have talked about. But one of the things that is most challenging about Toastmasters is an awesome place to develop yourself as a public speaker. But you usually have a paradox, especially when you receive new members. But it is something that I've observed throughout the time someone is in Toastmasters, because there's this paradox where the only way people have come here to grow in confidence so that they can stand up in front of a crowd and speak with confidence. And the only way for someone to grow in confidence as a public speaker is to stand in front of a crowd and speak as often as possible. But the paradox is that for you to be able to stand in front of an audience, you need to have some kind of confidence within you. And so the thing that is most important about mentorship in Toastmasters is it's working around the mission of a Toastmasters club, where you're providing a positive and supportive learning experience, because there are the people who really need to stand in front of an audience and grow in confidence are those who are most challenged in terms of how they feel about their public speaking and their leadership skill. And so one of the things that a mentor does in Toastmasters is actually, first of all, empower the mentee by giving them guidance, and giving them guidance in a way that helps them start feeling confident about themselves, right from delivering an icebreaker where they start feeling that through the practice that you take your mentee through the way that you help them work through the projects, through the way that you help them explain the roles in Toastmasters, you start giving them little doses of confidence so that they can keep standing in front of an audience until they grow, they develop that personal growth and self-confidence. So that the role of a mentor is quite essential, particularly in a Toastmasters club, but just not for new members, but also for continuing members. There is always that need to feel that when you stand in front of an audience, you're not going to embarrass yourself, but rather you are going to be in an environment, you're going to be in a place where there are people who are going to support you. And a mentor is going to give that kind of impression to the mentees. So, first of all, providing those clear directions that give someone the confidence to stand in front of an audience. And in addition to that, helping them know that there's a person in the club, in the audience, that is supporting them. And so that additionally boosts their confidence. And so that is the kind of mindset that we go into mentoring with. Our goal is to be part of that supportive and positive learning experience that we are calling, that Toastmasters clubs say that they provide to the people who join it. And the way that you're going to think about how you help your mentee to actually grow in public speaking and also in leadership, maybe it's using this very simple framework where, first of all, you set goals with your your mentee. This is quite simple and straightforward when you think about it. What you're trying to do is help your mentee define what they want to achieve. Most of the time, we usually come to Toastmasters and say that you just want to stand in front of an audience and speak with confidence. The first role of a mentee is actually help a mentor is actually help a mentee dig deeper into that. What does that mean for them? Does it mean to stand in a boardroom and deliver a report every Monday morning at their work? Does it mean to be able to stand up during weddings because they need to keep speaking during weddings and those social events and speak with confidence? Or does it mean just delivering one speech in one setting that is coming up? Maybe they've been invited to be a keynote speaker. There are professional. They have been invited to be in a panel, and they need the confidence to actually stand to actually be part of that. And so the first role of a mentor is to help the mentee actually crystallize that idea of exactly what does it mean that I want to improve. And in addition to that, for you to help them get to the root cause of that, you need to listen more than before you give any kind of advice. And so approaching the mentoring relationship where you are trying to understand exactly what they need rather than coming in with that kind of assumption that you know exactly what a Toastmaster is going to need, because we all have different goals, we all have different motivations that bring us to Toastmasters. And so, to be an effective mentor, you need to have that kind of openness to help your mentee define exactly what they want to achieve for themselves. In addition to that, you need to help them understand, to get a clearer picture of exactly where they are as a public speaker and as a leader. And this takes time in terms of helping them reflect on exactly what their commitment is going to be like if they are going to grow in the areas that they want to grow. And so, first of all, you think about helping them understand these are the strengths that you already have through the conversations that you have, through looking through their speeches, through the rehearsals that you have with them, through observing them when they take up roles in the club, helping them understand, for example, if someone already has some humor, helping them see that is a strength that they can use to build confidence as public speakers. If they are great in organizing their ideas into speeches but still lack that confidence to stand in front of an audience, helping them understand that they already have strengths that they are bringing to that relationship, and then helping them understand the reality of their situation. Because if, for example, you want to grow in confidence, you need to speak as often as possible. And so helping them think about exactly how often do you want to speak at your club, how often do you want to take up roles, so that you're not just setting goals, but you're actually setting realistic goals where the mentee has a clear understanding of exactly what kind of commitment is required. And so, like something simple that we all sometimes know, that writing a speech can be can take quite a bit of time at the very beginning of your journey. And so, helping your mentee understand exactly why they need to give enough time for their speech writing, about 3 to 4 weeks, for them to actually put together an effective speech and actually have time to rehearse. So that is one of the roles of your role as a mentor, is to help your mentee have a realistic understanding of their situation. And then the other thing is to help them see the options that they have towards achieving the goals that they have set for themselves. Let me take the example of being a humorous public speaker. One of the goals, one of your roles, for example, if your mentee wants to become a humorous public speaker, one of your roles as a mentor is to help them understand exactly what are the ways that you develop humorous speeches. What are the different ways that you can become a humorous speaker? And there are so many different things that people would like to achieve. And the way that you as a mentor can help your mentee in this area is, first of all, to keep developing yourself as a public speaker. And one of the most amazing things I ever realized at some point is that there are actually textbooks about public speaking. And you might think, oh my goodness, a textbook, a huge textbook about public speaking, that must be boring, super boring and unhelpful. But most greatest impactful lessons that I have ever gotten from about public speaking came from going through these textbooks. And in addition to reading material, there are videos. And so, as a mentor, you need to keep developing yourself so that you can have enough knowledge to guide your mentee. So, for example, if one of the feedback that your mentee receives in a meeting is that they need to learn how to prepare a speech so that they do not rely on notes. What kind of strategies are there that are quite effective in terms of helping someone understand exactly how do you get to the point where you can deliver a speech without notes? And so by going through YouTube, going through podcasts, reading material, you can develop the different strategies and provide them to your mentee. In addition to that, mentees need a lot of needs to be held accountable for the goals that they have set. So if a mentee says I need to be speaking at least once every month, one of the roles of a mentor is to follow uh, up on the mentee on the goals that they have set. And then when they deliver a speech, helping them celebrate their wins so that you can reinforce the positive that they are doing. And in addition to that, you need to keep a great mentor keeps their commitment and is consistent. And so if you promise that you're going to go through your mentee's speech, is keeping your promise and getting back to them in time, being consistent in terms of how regularly you meet with your mentee. So those are the kind of things that you need to keep in mind in terms of being a mentor. And so we've covered, you need to help your mentor set their goals. You need to help them get a realistic understanding of where they are as public speakers and as leaders, and what the commitment they are making is going to, what kind of commitment those goals are calling them to make. Then you need to provide them with strategies on how to achieve their goals and become better public speakers. So you need to keep developing yourself. And finally, you need to help them stay accountable, and by following up with them, celebrating when they deliver speeches and every small win, and then keeping your commitments as a mentor. And so let us focus on one important aspect of mentoring that is quite important in a Toastmasters club, because a lot of new members, I've been in Toastmasters for quite a long time, and I found that very often a lot of new members are going to spend months before they deliver any kind of speech. And sometimes someone joins a Toastmasters club, they go through 6 months, they do not deliver a single speech, then they do not renew during the next renewal. Those of us who have been club officers for a while can testify that that happens quite a lot. And it also happens that members join, they have this idea of exactly what they want to grow in, but because of whatever reasons, they end up not delivering any speeches, and then they leave. And I think by providing better mentorship to new members, especially during that first 6 months, we can better retain them. We can better provide the value that they have paid for, because each of these people has actually paid a certain amount of money, and so we can deliver value to them. So how do we approach mentoring a new member? The first thing that you need to do is, before you get into anything, help them understand how the meeting and the club works. Because if you've been in Toastmasters for over a year or so, sometimes some of the things that we do in a Toastmasters meeting becomes sort of second nature. They're things that you take for granted, knowledge that you take for granted. And so for a new member, a lot of the things that we might do might sound quite strange and alien to them. When you talk about DCP goals, when you talk about Smedley, when you hear a DTM, when you hear all these levels, pathways, that is a lot of information for a new member. And so one of the things that you need to do when you're mentoring a new member is to help them understand meetings and clubs. And what that means is having conversations after meetings, during meetings with them, and asking them, is there anything that you didn't understand, and giving them that information. Then guiding them through the process of taking up simple roles at the beginning. After let me give you an example. When I started off in Toastmasters, being a Toastmaster of the day used to be quite a challenging thing. I would need to take maybe about 2 weeks to prepare my theme, to prepare my script. Then I would think about every single thing that I was going to say, and my script will have notes about who I'm bringing in. And yeah, one of us right here in this meeting, I've seen your Toastmaster of the Day notes, and that is exactly what you do. You knew yourself. That's why you're laughing today. And but as time went by, I realized that with an agenda and a few notes about the theme, I can comfortably be a Toastmaster of the Day. And so that is one of the roles you have as a mentor, is to help them understand that the roles that we have in a Toastmasters Club are actually not meant to be complicated. They're actually meant to be simple. And so helping them become comfortable slowly. And so the way that you introduce the different roles, helping them understand this is what all that you need to do as a word of the day master is just pick a word, stand up, introduce the word, and then sit down. There is nothing much to it. Helping them understand that, helping them overcome that feeling that this is a challenging role is one of the roles that one of the things that you can do for new members. In addition to that, you need to spend quite a bit of time, about 45 minutes, with them, going through pathways, explaining the different paths to them, helping them log into the Toastmasters website, then helping them select a path, then taking them to Basecamp, taking them through. This is how you go through a project. This is how you complete the project. This is how you complete a path. Then going together with them through the icebreaker project from beginning all the way to the end, so that after you are done with the icebreaker, they can go back to Basecamp by themselves and go through the project. So that is one of the things that you must do when you're mentoring a new member. In addition to that, you need to help them through the process of preparing for the icebreaker. And this usually requires a lot of hand holding, especially that first speech, because remember, this is someone who is coming here to build their confidence. They do not feel completely confident about standing on stage. And so going through the process of creating an icebreaker with them step by step, helping them understand this is exactly what this is exactly how you go about writing a speech, coming up with speech ideas, putting it together. This is what you need to do when you are rehearsing a speech, and this is how like all those things that we usually do when preparing a speech. And so being taking extra care in terms of guiding them through the icebreaker is something that is important for a new member. So you cannot just tell them your icebreaker is introducing yourself, please write a speech and then come back to me. You need to hold their hand throughout the process of writing that icebreaker. In addition to that, you need to help them prepare emotionally, because again, they are nervous. You remember how it felt like initially when you delivered your first speech. And so you need to help them overcome that emotional turmoil that they might be feeling, through encouraging them, through helping them see that the people in the room the people in the room are there to support them, that you as a mentor are there to support them. So helping them take that initial step. And from the way that we've talking about getting them familiar with pathways, then helping them through the icebreaker, then helping them emotionally, you see that when one of these things is missing, that is when a new member can take months without delivering a speech. They don't feel emotionally prepared. They don't know what they are doing in terms of writing the icebreaker, and so they take a long time. They don't know what even an icebreaker is. And so they don't know that there's in Basecamp, you get guidance on how to go about it. And so it is quite important as a mentor to go through these stages that we've talked about. And then finally, talking to them, celebrating with them after they have delivered their icebreaker, congratulating them, helping them focus on what they did well. Because again, something else that as speakers at the very initial stages of Toastmasters is that after they've delivered a speech, they only focus on the things that went wrong. They focus that I was feeling nervous. They focus on I could not remember this or that. They focus on I started at this point in my speech. And so as a mentor, helping them focus on the strengths and then gaining perspective about those places that they still need to improve so that they do not see them as insurmountable obstacles for them to go over. And that is basically how you go about helping a new member. First of all, you need to help them understand the club. You need to introduce them to meeting roles in a simple way and help them take up simple roles. You need to introduce them to pathways and to the icebreaker project and what Basecamp looks like. You need to help them prepare for the icebreaker, holding their hand throughout. You need to help them emotionally prepare for that first speech. And finally, you need to celebrate with them after they have delivered their speech. But that is just for the first speech. As for most of the time, as a mentor, you are going to be helping your members. You're going to be helping your mentee deliver speeches, and so that is what I would like to shift to at this point in my presentation. And before I get into that, maybe is to ask each of us, a number of us, what processes do you usually go through when you are writing, when you are preparing a speech project, when you're preparing to deliver a speech? What kind of steps do you go through? Maybe it's something that you've never thought about, but it's something that we could reflect on. And then after you have delivered your speech, after you've received an evaluation, what do you usually do immediately after you have delivered that speech? Would anyone like to speak? You can just unmute yourself and just speak on that. Anybody? Yes, Lemnam?
Hello? Yeah. Usually, whenever I write a speech, actually, most of my speech, it comes from my own experience.
Right.
So basically, I could be driving or something, and something could come up, depending on what type of speech I was planning to do.
Right.
So I don't know how to say it, but it's more of whatever I'm feeling on that day, I could write something about that.
Right.
So based on that, depending on the level the project I'm doing, I can relate it to the project. So I would be able to prepare that speech and present it.
Right. Absolutely. So, right.
Please continue.
Right.
So after the making that presentation, I understand what my shortcomings are usually. So it's more of whenever you receive the same comment about yourself all the time, and it becomes nothing new, but you're just trying to work it out so that you would improve the next time. That's the whole process for me.
Right. Thank you so much, Lemlem. First of all, what I heard was your speech topics come like from reflecting from your own experience. They might just come to you. Then you find ways of relating it to the speech project that you are tackling next. And then after a speech is trying, just keep working at overcome those areas of improvement that you notice and that have been pointed out to you. Thank you so much, Lemlem. Anybody else who would like to speak on that? Yes, Jonas?
So what I usually do is I have a kind of list for possible topics for speech. Whenever I encounter some idea that I think is worth preparing a speech for, so I'll write it down on that list. And if some of the ideas from the list are related to my project, then I just try to write a list of some expanded ideas, like not connected, but ideas here and there. And then I try to just go over them and erase whatever I have to dump, and then maybe develop on one or two of them. So that will eventually become maybe a coherent speech.
Right.
After the evaluation, usually I don't do that much, but I try to write my evaluation comments, and then I try to review them whenever I prepare for my next speech.
Right. Right. Review. Right. Absolutely. You have a place where you keep a list of possible topics. Then you keep when it's time to deliver a speech, you collect different ideas, put them together, and then finally you have those comments from your evaluator that you try and integrate into your next speech. Lina?
Okay. The first step I usually took is brainstorming about the project, what it really requires, what kind of story should I come up with. Then after I come up with a specific topic, I would write it down because writing is a must for me. It will help me to collect my thoughts. Then I will try to structure the speech. After that, when I feel like it is kind of a structured speech, I will send it to my mentor and receive feedback. And again, I will refine the speech based on the feedback that I have received from my mentor, and I'll proceed. After delivering the speech, I usually try, in addition to what my evaluator gave me, I usually try to ask as many people as possible because it will help me to see my speech from different perspectives. And at Toastmasters, it is a supportive environment, so people will tell you a lot of things that you haven't noticed, including things that your evaluator haven't noticed. So I will ask for feedback and I will try to reflect on it on that specific day because it will help me to be more intentional about my stage performance.
Right. Thank you so much. Lina, anybody else before? Absolutely. I see brainstorming on your speech, putting your ideas on paper, getting feedback from your mentor, then rehearsal, delivering the speech, then getting feedback from as many people as possible from the meeting, and then working on that. Sade?
I think pretty much it's similar process for me as well. However, I noticed that I'm not utilizing my mentor as much. I just get feedback right after my speech, after my evaluator give me their evaluations. I go to my mentor and see what he thinks about my speech. Yeah, that's what I learned from this responses, but pretty much the whole process is similar to me as well.
Pretty similar process. Thank you so much, Sade. Yordano says in the chat, picks a topic, writes the speech, writes a draft, then starts practicing, then sends a video to the mentor based on the feedback received, refines the speech. Then, after delivering the speech, takes notes of the evaluation she has received. And I think we all have, thank you so much, Yodanos, thank you so much, everyone. We all have different approaches to putting together speech. And what is for us to be effective mentors is we need to be quite intentional about that process of putting together a speech so that when you are having a conversation with your mentee, you can lay out you can lay out a plan about how you are going to approach a project together. At the very beginning, you might use the process that you are used to in terms of putting together a speech. But as time goes by, your mentee might develop their own style of approaching a speech, and then you help them in the context of that style. But at the very beginning, you need to provide them a guideline on how to go about putting their speech. And so there are three major touch points when you think about how to be intentional about helping your mentee that you need to keep in mind. And so the first touch point is understanding the project and developing a speech purpose, because this is going to be the initial step where after they have delivered a speech, they come to you and so they're like, yeah, when am I going to deliver my next speech? One of the things that you need to do immediately is to help them understand exactly what is required for your next speech project. And so helping them deconstruct that. Then, in addition to that, helping them come up with those ideas. There are different ways that we have developed of collecting topics from our experiences, from a collection of ideas that we put together from brainstorming. But however way that you approach that is to turn those ideas, is to guide them through turning those ideas that they might have into a speech. And the way that you help them turn an idea into a speech is by you keep asking them, what do you want the audience to get out of this speech? So you have this idea that you have that is playing around in your mind. So what do you want them, the members of the audience, to walk away from your speech understanding? And so through that process of brainstorming on these are the objectives of the project, and this is the topic that I want, this is the area that I want to speak about, and then talking about what exactly do I want to achieve by the end of that 5 to 7 minute speech, you're going to set them on track towards knowing what exactly is the kind of content they need to collect in order to put their speech together. Then the next touch point is helping them think about the speech structure, the content in order to achieve that purpose. So after they've gone, try to put the ideas on paper, try to put together an outline, whatever speech they might have. And so helping them structure their ideas so that they become more effective. Help them think about exactly, are these the content that you have in your speech, is it effective? What more, how many different directions can you go with that speech? Again, this is through, it's still another step in that brainstorming process and helping your mentee think through the process of writing their speech. And so after you've gone through this, talking about the structure, the content, and the purpose of their speech, then the third touch point will be encouraging them through the rehearsal, guiding them through that process. So we've seen maybe receiving a video from your mentee. If you have time, having an actual face-to-face rehearsal with your mentee, meeting on Zoom and letting them present the speech to you. There are so many ways that you can guide your mentee through this process of rehearsing their speech. And so at the very beginning of the journey, for example, when they deliver the icebreaker, you might actually need to meet them before a Toastmasters meeting or meet them on Zoom and help them go through the process of practicing. But as time goes by, that need of them practicing in front of you becomes less and less. In addition to that, you can also encourage them to, as they're practicing, to take videos of themselves, watch the videos, observe areas that they need to improve, and keep reiterating through that process. And so your role as a mentee will be giving them tips and guides on how to prepare for their speech. One of the speeches that you really need to put in a lot of effort is the vocal variety and body language speech. I feel that speech, you need to make time where you actually are physically present with your mentee, where they can rehearse in front of you, because that is the one opportunity that they can really practice their vocal variety and their body language. So think about those three touch points when you are mentoring. When you're mentoring, first of all, helping them understand the objectives and helping them turn their topic idea into a speech by helping them reflect on the purpose of their speech, then helping them go through the process of structuring their idea and collecting the right kind of content, and finally helping them through that process of rehearsing for their speech in preparation for delivery. Then once they have delivered their speech, one of the most important roles that you can play as a mentor is helping them process the evaluation that they have received. And again, this can be sometimes people usually don't come out and say this out loud, but getting feedback in front of a group of people is not an easy thing for a lot of people. It takes quite a number of speeches before you become comfortable with that process of receiving feedback from someone who is giving it to you in front of a crowd. And so one of your roles as a mentor is helping your mentee process that feedback, especially at the very beginning in the level one. As they proceed in their journey, they have developed that mindset of doing it. But at the very beginning, it's important for you to do it. And like we said with the icebreaker, the first step is to reinforce success. Help them think of exactly what they're proud about the speech, what they did particularly well. It's important at the very beginning to keep focusing their minds on the areas that they are improving, because unless someone feels that every time they stand in front of an audience they're getting better, they are not going to keep doing it over and over. And so the first step, keep reinforcing what they are doing well, then help them understand exactly the comments that they have received. There are times when the evaluator is not clear on what they say, especially when in terms of the recommendations that they give. And so one of the things that you can do as a mentor is help them understand whether they understood the feedback that they got, and then if there's anything about the evaluation that they didn't quite understand, helping them go through that process of understanding the kind of impact it can have on their speech. And so the way that I would advise you go about this is the way that an effective evaluation recommendation is usually, this is the behavior that you had. For example, you kept pacing back and forward. That is a behavior. This is the effect that it has on your message. It makes you look nervous, and so it reduces your credibility. And then this is what you could do different in future in terms of standing still until you have a strategy on how to move around on stage. And so that three-part way of understanding an evaluation is something that you need to provide to your mentee so that they understand those three different parts of an evaluation, because that is not always the way that an evaluator frames their evaluations. Most of the time is just saying, you need to improve on this, you did do well on this, you didn't do well on that, you need to improve on them. So helping them understand an evaluation. And then finally, helping them prioritize on feedback. Sometimes an evaluator might mention quite a number of things that they need to improve on. And so your role as a mentor is helping them focus on the one area that is going to have the greatest impact on their growth as a public speaker. So helping them sort out all those different things, like one of us, Lemlem, had said, there are things that you keep hearing over and over. And so helping them sort out, is this thing important? Is this thing something that I can work on right now, or does it require a bit of time? What is the one area that I can improve on right now while working on the next speech, so that the process of preparing for a speech, the process of getting that feedback is focused and is sharp, and so that they know exactly what they're going to do for the next speech. And so basically that is exactly what you do as a mentor in terms of helping the member prepare for speeches and also think about feedback. And what we have covered so far, right from the very beginning, is there's this cycle that we go through as members of Toastmasters Club, where you set a goal, you create a plan, you take action, put together a speech, you deliver the speech, get feedback, reflect on the feedback, create another plan on how to improve, implement it through action, feedback, and you keep going through that loop. And your role as a mentor is to support the member while they're going through that loop, where you keep encouraging them, you keep giving them guidance, you keep helping them get that confidence to keep standing in front of an audience. And the way that for you to keep helping them going through this loop, like we said, you need to be intentional, and you need to keep interacting with your mentee even when they do not have they haven't scheduled a speech, like having a regular rhythm of interacting with your mentee. And that is what we are recommending at Jupiter Toastmasters, is having at least once a month where you interact with your mentee. You can do it more times depending on the circumstances, but the minimum is at least once a month. And so, what is your next step as a mentor right now? We have sent out emails pairing mentors and mentees. And so, the first thing is to do is to contact your assigned mentee and schedule your first meeting with them. And what you're going to then, in addition to that, you need to know each other and agree on how you're going to be working together. So that is the first thing that you do through when you have that first contact. It could be on phone or it could be in person. So coming up with a work plan on how you're going to work over the next 6 months, and then finally completing section B to E of the mentee developing plan that we have attached in that email. So think about what they need to focus on during those months, setting goals, creating clear priorities, and then thinking about what areas they are already strong, and then what areas do they need to improve. And that is basically, I hope, what you are called to do as a mentor. I hope it feels something within your reach, because right now we've defined what your role as a mentor is: to support that member, is to be part of that support system that they receive from the club, and through helping them grow, setting goals, be realistic, or giving them options, and encouraging them on their way forward by holding them accountable and holding yourself accountable. And then the things that you need to do in terms for a new member, you need to hold their hand throughout. And then you need to be intentional about how you help your mentee prepare their speeches, and then remembering that it is part of your responsibility to help them process their feedback. And that brings us to the end of this presentation. Maybe something that we could each say: what is one thing that you've learned this evening that you are going to implement in your mentoring relationship? Today?
I think one thing that stayed with me is to be able to have a clear definition of what's my role as a mentor, and just being clear of what the mentee also wants to work on.
Right. Thank you so much. Being clear about your role and what the mentee wants to work on. Lemlem, Jonas, Lina has dropped off. Yes, Jonas?
Okay. One thing I've learned is being a mentor is also trying to become one step ahead of the mentees. So developing myself would be one of my responsibilities also.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Developing yourself is one of your responsibility. And finally, Lemlem.
Hello?
Yes, Lemlem.
Yeah. So the one thing I took from this training is there should be a proper communication, even with because even with my mentor, I don't do the proper communication. I just send him my speech and ask him for comments. If he comments, good. If not, I just proceed with the whole process. So proper communication and getting a feedback, even recording yourself and sending the video so that he would see how you are, how you would be presenting is a good thing, and I should do more of that.
Right. Thank you. Very good. Thank you so much, Lemlem. Yordano said she can't unmute herself. And Lina, I think, is having challenges getting back into the meeting. But yeah, I hope those lessons are going to stick with us going forward. Yordano says she's learned to make consistent follow-up plans and also work on herself so she can be guide better. Thank you so much, Jordanos, absolutely. I hope those lessons are going to stick with us over the next 6 months, and we're going to implement them. And in December, we are going to be celebrating all of you for the progress that you and your mentees have made in the course of this mentorship program. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I really appreciate your presence, and